And then Darian said, I've been stabbed, I'm dying. And then one of Darian's friends called him to say, like, where are you okay? And he said, I'm dying, bro, I love you.
He was a good boy, he was good in school, he was trying to get his GCSEs, and that was taken away from him. Stop killing each other, kids, because this is what you're doing to us.
My little brother was stabbed age 16, and ever since I have really advocated for knife crime to be abolished, but working with the government also to halve knife crime over the next decade. Darian went to a very good school. He wanted to be a lawyer. He had a whole big future. He actually visited Westminster not long, a year before the incident happened, which really encouraged him to become a lawyer. Unfortunately for him, he was a typical teenage boy, kind of like the class clown, but also like the class protector. Watching it in court, you see him walking down the street with his friends. They go into a shop, they buy a drink, like a fizzy drink. They're hanging around in the park for a little bit. It was about 4 p.m. They got to the park just after 4 p.m, daylight, and then these boys cycle past them. No one moves or does anything that's out of the usual of what they had been doing. They carried on minding their business and playing. And then 15 minutes later, which was just after 6 p.m, coming up to 7, these boys then come back in the park with knives in their hand and just literally launch at Darian. Darian was still on the table at the time, so he had jumped up and kicked one. And the other boy launched at him, so he kicked him too. And then the first boy got up and went around the table and stabbed Darian in the back. We got away onto the main road, like a dual carriageway. About 20 cars drove past him, so he was kind of like trying to point to his back, and he took his jumper off and was showing his back, but there was like a massive pile of blood. He then opened up a member of the public's van door who was stopped at the traffic light, and he kind of just let himself into the man's van. The man couldn't speak good English, but he said like, what the hell? And then Darian said, I've been stabbed, I'm dying. And then one of Darian's friends called him to say, like, where are you okay? And he said, I'm dying, bro, I love you. The van member drove to a place called Old Market from Eastern Way, which is about a 3-minute drive, if that. He opened up the van door to go and get help from a shop where he knew that they would understand him. Yeah. And Darian came out the van and just dropped to the floor, and then that's where he died. During trial, we found out that the boy that actually stabbed him had been at a previous stabbing, I think 6 days before, where his friend was nearly unalived. And he ran from the scene, as most 15-year-old children would. But the gang that he was involved in then put what I say is pressure onto him to, you have to go and get someone now because you ran away. You're a PUSSY. So he was pressured to kind of get someone down, as he put it. And ultimately, Darian paid the price of that incident that he was not involved in. I can't think of anything that's the same anymore, even if it's just getting up, eating, being around family. Before would be like laughing, joking, like every time there's someone that's like, it's just mad that Darian's not here, or it's just like something just always doesn't feel right. There could be some days, every birthday I've cried since, because my friends like, come on, we're gonna have fun, no crying today, and it just doesn't happen. The mental health, the trauma of going through that and having to try and like keep living and knowing that's happened and the world's just moving around you and you're just stuck in that day, that place, that time. It's crazy. It's just a whole afternoon in court of pausing, going back. Some of us was thrown up after watching that. We was in the bathroom. We just ate lunch. We come in and it was on the screen and it was just like, right, we're going to continue. Press play, And it was just, yeah, it was awful. Violence is normalised. You kind of become like detached to it. You kind of become like, you know, a bit like how I was and my younger brothers was growing up. It was just like, oh, it's normal someone fighting, it's normal people being hurt, it's normal seeing an ambulance or a police car, it's normal seeing people get their doors kicked off or whatever crimes they've been doing. It becomes normal. And until someone talks to them or shows them there's more to life, then unfortunately this is where we're at, this is what happened. How I look at it as like we've all lost, like there's no winners. You know, Darian's dead and those two boys are in jail for a long time, and they've got brothers and sisters, and you know, either way, as a big sister, I wouldn't want to be either side of it. I wouldn't want it to be one of my brothers in jail or sister in jail because they've murdered someone. I also didn't want to be this sister either, the one who's lost, you know, someone that meant so much to all of us. You know, there was intelligence that these children needed more support and more like opportunities, but unfortunately it was all a little too late, where everyone came together and spoke about what they all knew. And this is why I helped with the public inquiry, with making Bristol safer partnership, because it's important that these mistakes are never made again.
We must do everything in our power to prevent this from happening to others. We must work together, governments, communities, schools and families, to find solutions that will stop this violence.
I just thought like we need something in place. Then it became to like sitting at tables and having meetings with all these people that I like back then I couldn't tell you who they were. It was just like, hey, can you come to this meeting? It's with the local community PCSOs, or it's with this youth club and this person. So I just go along and they're like, can we have your lived experience or your opinion? The government invited me to the coalitions. That was like one of the biggest, like, wow. And I was like this is getting a bit like crazy now, it's getting out of control. And then I teamed up with Bin the Blade, Leanne Reynolds from Bristol, and we're like a force basically. We bring awareness, we go to multiple different type of like meetings or events where it's like young people or professionals, meeting with local MPs to try and, you know, see what youth preventions we could put in place. My next steps would be trying to bring more awareness into schools. That's where we need to start, like primary school ages, getting into schools, bringing that awareness, but in a way where it's not putting fear into children, but educating them and making them understand the risk of not just knife crime, but any type of serious youth violence. It could be a friend having a fight. What do? You don't jump in and start jumping on that person's head as well. You go and get help, you tell someone. It could be the minor, something so minor, but those little minor incidents can build to something more bigger and on a whole nother scale. So we need to kind of put more prevention in places, ensuring that we have, like, you know, like the Young Future hubs. You know, that's a great start, having more of those and having them more everywhere, because that's a safe place for children. That's a safe place where young people can go and get support, whether it be mental health or applying for jobs or learning basic skills that they may not be at home. It's really great start. So those type of things we need to implement and make sure they stay long term.